everybody. Good morning again. I am in Iowa on my way to Illinois to deliver a load to one of the Menards stores. It's late, running on a little bit of sleep. Still feeling okay. Not too bad. I've got about 3 hours before I arrive at my first stop, which is going to be a Lowe's, where I can go in and catch a shower. I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about a subject. You know, I got one of my followers on Facebook here. Guy, I'll butcher his name again, but he goes by Buchan Cherubin. I think he said his name's William. I'll have to go back and check again. I'm pretty sure of that, so I'm going to stick with that. He was asking about eating healthy on the road. Okay. So let me give a little bit of quick background here. Right. I'm 45 years old, and I've been dealing with an expanding waistline for about 25 years or so. At some point back when I was in my 20s, my body was just like, I'm done with it, we're giving up, and so I've had weight issues for a while, and when I was in the Army and I was working out all the time, and I was really, really active, I didn't have any real serious, weight issues. But once I got out of the Army and I started getting a little lazy, I quit working out, and all that stuff. Well, the waistline just kind of expanded, because I have a love for food. The better the food, the more I love it. And I'm also a stress eater. So, when I get stressed or when I start, worrying about a lot of things, first thing I do is turn to some chips or some crackers or something, and I'll snack all freaking day long. I don't eat a whole lot, when I sit down for meals usually, my eating habits haven't really been all that great, but occasionally here and there in my life, I decide I'm going to clean up my act, and so I'll go on this life-changing movement for various amounts of times, and I always feel really good when I do it, and I've learned a lot through the process, and when the low carb and no carb fads were the big thing, I jumped on top of it, I noticed a lot of problems with that lately afterwards I did a lot of research and realized just how bad that type of a diet really is. And so this last time, I decided I was just going to change everything about the way I eat, and I did a lot of research and a lot of study, and I learned a little bit about healthy eating. So William, and if I'm wrong and that's not his name, but I apologize. I'll check it a little bit later just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what he told me. Cherubin. And anyway, he was asking me about eating healthy on the road, and he was saying that he was going to get a 40-quart cooler or a cooler that he was going to have next to him, and that he wanted to eat healthy because he wanted to lose a little bit of weight, and he wanted to get back in better shape again, and that's commendable, without a doubt. That's absolutely commendable. The problem is it's not practical. Doesn't mean you can't do it, and I'm not trying to tell you not to do it. And of course this goes for everybody. I'm not trying to tell anybody not to do it. But eating healthy is not easy. It's not even easy when you're not a driver and you're home every day. And I guess first, we should start by defining what it means to eat healthy. Because because everybody has a different definition of that. To me, eating healthy means, that you eat all whole grains, no processed foods. You prepare everything yourself and eat the healthiest meats. The healthiest meats to eat. I don't like chicken, and I don't eat chicken, but chicken is one of the healthier meats to eat. In place of chicken, I eat turkey, and I eat a lot of turkey. So I do turkey all year round. I'll roast a turkey and eat on that thing for a week. And fish is probably the single healthiest protein meat that you can eat. Contrary to popular belief, beef is really not a healthy meat. It takes your body a long time to process it, a long time to digest it. Some of it never gets broken down in your body. It's full of fat. It's just not a really healthy meat. It's a good meat. I love steak. I'm a steak eating fool. I love my hamburgers. I'm a hamburger eating fool. But I also know that beef is not the healthiest meat out there. Neither is pork. Pork is, and that includes bacon and all that stuff. It's full of fat. The fat's what really makes it taste so good. But it's full of fat. And the pork, if it's not fully cooked, to the proper temperature, then you may not kill all the bacteria that's in it. And you can get sick off of it. Chicken, you got to be careful when you're dealing with chicken because it carries salmonella. And mishandled chicken has been the cause of many deaths. I've had 2 friends of mine die because of mishandled chicken. I was in the middle of a huge food poisoning issue where 700 people came down with food poisoning, and about 11 of them died. 2 of those people that died were friends of mine. And I had already kind of separated myself from eating chicken before that, and so I didn't get caught in any of that kind of stuff, but they did. And mishandled chicken is one of the leading causes of salmonella in the United States. And so for me, even if I ate chicken, it would not be a food of choice for out here on the road. And I'm going to tell you why here in a few minutes. And I'm going to tell you why eating healthy is not practical out here. First off, eating healthy is a lot more expensive than eating your unhealthy alternatives. Okay, and I'm not one of these guys that's on the organic craze. So everything with me doesn't have to be absolutely organic. But when you are making a true attempt to eat healthy, then a rule of thumb is that everything on the outskirts of the food section in your store is better for you than anything in the aisles. Everything in the aisles is processed food. Okay, processed food is full of sodium. It's full of chemicals. It's full of preservatives. It's not good for you. But that's what we eat. That's what we eat most of. That's where we get 90% of our food products from, is from the center aisles of the store. Chips are processed foods. Most of your breads are processed foods. All of your frozen foods are all processed foods. Canned goods are all processed foods. They're not healthy foods. Okay. You go around the outskirts of the aisle and you get, fresh chicken, fresh turkey, fresh fish. Those are not processed. Those are in their natural state. A non-processed food is food that's in its natural state. You go to the vegetable section and you get vegetables. You get an ear of corn. An ear of corn is not processed. Now, I'm not even talking about this new GMO thing, genetically modified food talking about that because I don't know enough about that to even speak on it. I'm talking about processed foods. Okay, so you go through your vegetable aisle, you pick up a potato. The potato is in its natural state. It's not processed. Okay, you go into the aisles. There's a couple of things that are not processed. Whole grain, and you have to. It has to say whole grain. Whole grain oatmeal or oats. You know, the kind of the big tube. That's not processed. It's pretty good for you. It's one of the best things that you can get out of the grocery store to eat, and I eat quite a bit of it. Honey typically is not processed. I'm a big proponent of local honey, and use it as a sweetener instead of sugar, and because white sugar is all completely processed. There's absolutely nothing useful to your body in sugar. And so it costs more to buy the ingredients to make a salad, than it does to buy a box of Twinkies. Okay? You go and you buy the ingredients to make a salad, you're subject to spend $5-6. You can buy a box of Twinkies for $3. I mean, go figure. You go and buy a turkey breast, unprocessed turkey breast, uncooked, which is hard to find because most of them are already fully cooked. But find you an unprocessed turkey breast to cook, as opposed to going to the freezer section and getting frozen turkey fillets, whatever they call them, the little patties, that you make like turkey burgers and stuff with. Well, you go there and you buy the processed stuff. It costs a couple dollars less than what you get buying it fresh. So eating healthy is more expensive, right? Second is that you're in a truck, okay, and a lot of people, they say they don't really have a concept of the size of the space that we live in, right? The space that we live in is roughly 7 feet by 7 feet, okay? May not even quite be 7 feet, it may be more like 6.5 feet. I'm 6 foot, 6'4" or 6'3". I'm 6'3", and I've still got space, at the end of the bunk, so it's at least 6.5 feet wide, by about the same amount in length, right? But the place there's not much room in here. It's cramped, okay? And you add this cooler, and I've got a cooler. You add this cooler down here, and you can't even hardly move in this cabin. You don't have a kitchen, and you don't have you don't have very many options for cooking. So people who say, well, I'm going to go out on the road and I'm going to eat healthy, all right? Well, they've never spent time in one of these cabs, and so they don't really know the limited space that you have to deal with, and they don't really know the situations that you're going to be in, okay? A couple things that you need to consider is, one is you've got a refrigerator in here that is extremely small. I've got a couple packs of hot dogs in there, a couple packs of sandwich meat, condiments for making sandwiches, some cheese, and stuff like that, and it's packed. There's not room for much of anything else. I could probably still fit a little bit in there, but you can't fit much. The freezer, the freezer gives a new definition to the word tiny. You're not going to fit very much in that freezer. And when you're talking about being out on the road for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, I'm out for 3 weeks at a time. You don't have the space to freeze or chill 3 weeks worth of healthy foods. Okay, so you say, well, I'm going to buy one of these big old coolers and I'm going to put that next to me, and that's great. buy you one of them coolers. The way these coolers work is they keep the temperature inside the cooler 40 degrees cooler than the surrounding temperature. Okay, so the temperature inside your cab is 70 degrees. The temperature in the cooler is going to be 30 degrees. Okay, not bad. It's just below freezing. I haven't had any water freeze in there yet, so you know, I think it stays more around the 40 degree range. You know, which is fine. You know, it's good enough to keep things cold. It's not good enough to keep things frozen. It won't keep meats fresh long enough for you to be out on the road. You can't go and buy chicken, stick it in this cooler right here, and let it sit for 3 weeks. Okay. As a matter of fact, if you know anything about food service, or if you know anything about cross-contamination, you can't put chicken in this cooler at all, period. Because everything in this cooler becomes contaminated when you put the chicken in there. In order for you to be able to store that chicken in this cooler, it has to be bagged and inside of a bowl so that it cannot contaminate anything else in here. Alright? Don't believe me? Look it up. I've worked in food service. I've got a food handler's license. Okay? You cannot cross-contaminate. The best thing to do with chicken is to stick it in the freezer and freeze it. Problem is there's not enough space to freeze very much food. So your next answer is going to be, okay, well, I'll go to Walmart every week. Sounds good, you know, until you get out here on the road. It's not going to work. This cooler I use for drinks. I put all my drinks in this cooler. You know, if I have something I'm going to eat during the day that I want to keep cool, I'll put that in the freezer. In this refrigerator. This cooler, I'm sorry. The refrigerator I use for my sandwich meats, the condiments for the sandwiches, you know, and you know the odds and ends stuff that I keep in there. You know, I keep butter in there, you know, and jelly I keep in there, you know, and you know, hot sauce and you know, mayonnaise and mustard and ketchup and relish and you know, sandwich meats and hot dogs and cheese and you know that kind of stuff I keep in that cooler right there. All right. Second reason, all right, my cooler operates off a 24-volt system or 12-volt system. It plugs into your power supply, your 12-volt power supply. It does not plug into an inverter. The refrigerator is tied into the truck's electrical system. It's operated by a switch right up here on the panel. Okay, keep the refrigerator on all the time. The problem with that is that when you're parked, especially when you're parked for a long period of time, you know, these items in the truck that are constantly running are constantly draining power from the batteries, and eventually the truck gets to the point where it needs to go into a shutdown mode, and so it starts shutting off your electronics. And it goes through, what I've noticed is that it goes through 2 phases of shutting these things off. Alright, well, 3 phases of shutting these things off. The first thing it does is the Qualcomm will go out. The Qualcomm will turn out, and you know, and then shortly after the Qualcomm turns off, then you'll have an alarm in the cab that will go off. The alarm in the cab will go off. If you don't do something about it, then it'll shut off all of your electronics. Right? That's the lights, your 12-volt power supplies, everything. It shuts all of it completely off. When that 12-volt power supply goes off, so does your cooler. Okay? Cooler doesn't work anymore. Now the cooler is only staying cool based upon what's inside of it. Okay? Second thing is that, or shortly after that, what will happen is if it still doesn't get dealt with, it'll have a second alarm that'll go off later, and once that one goes off, if you don't do something about it, then it'll shut your refrigerator off. Okay, so your refrigerator gets turned off. The refrigerator will stay cool a little bit longer, but still it ain't going to stay cold forever. It's going to, stuff in there is going to start thawing out. All right, so different trucks respond differently depending on what you've got running in the vehicle, what you've got plugged in all the time, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Usually I can go through all night long, just sleeping through a 10-hour break, and I don't have an issue. But if I'm parked any longer than that, then I've got to get up and I've got to start the truck and let it run for about 30 minutes in order to power everything back up again. So that's the second reason why. The third reason is because you just don't have places to store stuff in here. All right, we've talked about the refrigeration and even using a cooler. I've got a 40-quart cooler sitting right here, right next to it. It's as big as one of them old igloo ice chests. It's a big cooler. And it's got a lot of room in it. But you just don't have the room to store anything. You're not in a house. You don't have a full-size refrigerator. All right. So the next thing is the storage space you have for non-perishables. All right. You don't have a whole lot of space for that either. All right. You don't have. I keep about $200 worth of food in the truck. That's about what I've got in the truck when I roll out off on time. And that $200 worth of food can pretty much carry me through, the whole 3 weeks. I supplement that here and there by, eating out of truck stops every now and again or whatever. But $200 worth of food I can pretty much eat on the whole time. All right. But you don't have a whole lot of place to store it. Now, what I've got food stored in these 2 boxes up here. I've got food stored in those 2 spots up there for the top bunk. I've got food stored, in this rack here under the bed. This two-layer rack under the bed for cans. I've got food stored in all those places, and most of it's canned goods. Canned goods are all processed. So the third issue or the next issue is how are you going to cook all this stuff? All right, you want to cook, and you want to live healthy. All right, so you want to cook all your own foods, but you don't have any place to clean anything. Okay, a lot of times, you're not going to be at a truck stop every night. And if you are at a truck stop every night, you can't carry all your dishes into the truck stop and wash them. They don't have public access washing machines for you to go wash all your dishes. They don't even have a sink that you can use where you can hand wash everything. Most of the hand sinks in the bathrooms are set on timers. You don't want to sit in there washing your stuff while people are taking a leak next to you. That shit ain't cool. I don't want to anyway. I get to a terminal, I usually take all my dishes in and I give them a good washing. Right? But I don't get to a terminal all that often. So, you carry gallons of water with you. Well, gallons of water don't go very far, when you're trying to wash dishes. So, let's say I'm going to take out an electric skillet and I'm going to cook a big old meal in an electric skillet. Well, when that meal's done, I got to clean that electric skillet. How am I going to do that? You got to think more in terms of camping. You're camping out for 3 weeks at a time. So you got to kind of think in those terms. You don't have a sink in here. You don't have water in here. And most of the times where you stop, you're not going to have access to those things. So when you decide to cook, you have to decide, how you're going to cook by making the least mess possible. So we use crock pots. And when we use crock pots, we use crock pot liners. Crock pot liners help keep, the crock pot from having to be scrubbed clean. You pull the liner out and you throw it away. Wipe out the inside of the crock pot, you're done. Alright, but you can only cook so much in a crock pot. There's only so many things that you can cook in there. We got these Road Pro 12-volt ovens. Very small ovens. Can't cook a whole lot in them, but they're pretty good. You can cook. You take a 9-inch bread pan, foil bread pan, you put inside of it, and then you cook inside. It's pretty much easy to do, but again, you can't cook a whole lot in there. There's not a lot that you can put in there and cook, and it takes a long time to cook it in that thing. So it's just not practical to cook like that. So what do? You buy canned goods. You buy canned goods. You use a microwave to heat everything up. You use your crock pot to cook some things. You use the Road Pro oven to cook a few other things. Some people take Foreman grills out on the road with them. I've got a Foreman grill. I walked out and left it at the house. And And when I get my Foreman grill, I'm going to start doing things like salmon patties, and stuff like that. So your ability to eat healthy is very limited. The best that you can do, or the best that I've found to do, is make healthier choices. In other words, you take the least evil of your choices. You buy tuna fish, don't buy tuna fish packed in oil. Buy tuna fish packed in water. You buy, I buy a lot of canned fruits. When you buy canned fruits, don't buy canned fruits that are packed in syrup. Buy canned fruits that are packed in natural juices. Okay, that are packed in fruit juice. Buy cans of fruit that have no sugar added to them. You don't need sugar added to the fruits. You go and you buy. I do a lot of these chunky brand soups. Like beef, sirloin, potato soups, and mushroom soups, and steak and vegetable soups and stuff like that. I do a lot of those, and I'll chunk a soup or two into a bowl, add a couple ramen noodles to it. Let the ramen noodles soak up all those juices from the soup, and I'll eat it. Ramen noodles aren't your healthiest choice. Matter of fact, they're not really a healthy choice at all. But I do it, and it's good. So you have to take into consideration convenience. A lot of times you don't have time to cook, especially running with Millis. If you run with Millis and you run hard, man, you don't have time to sit there and cook a meal all the time. There's times when I'm done running for the day, I'm like, man, I'm not even thinking about doing the damn cooking. All I'm going to do is make a sandwich and go to bed. I make oatmeal in the morning about half the time. The other half the time, I'm like, screw this, man. I'm just hitting the road. I'll eat some crackers or something on the go. So you've got this convenience, speed factor. A lot of times, I'll start if I get in the dock towards the end of the day. I got a couple hours left. I'll grab the crock pot. I'll set it up. I'll throw something in the crock pot and start cooking, and then I'll run on, and leave and get to wherever I'm going to stop at for the day. By the time I get there, the dinner's done. I can pull it out. I can eat. Pull the bag out, throw it in the trash, wipe out the inside of the crock pot. I'm done. And so I've got these bag soup mixes that I use for that. The Road Pro oven, I don't use it very often, but I do use it. I've cooked a turkey breast in it, and it took a long time to cook, but it came out pretty good. You take the turkey breast, you stick it in the deal, you add your salt, pepper, whatever spices that you're going to add to it. Put a little bit of water into the bottom of the pan. Turn it on, lock it down, strap it down, and hit the road. A couple hours later, when you stop, and you got a turkey breast that's ready to go. I buy boxes of stuffing and cans of ham or bags of diced ham, and I put that ham and stuffing in there, nuke it in the microwave for 5 minutes, and I got one of the best meals that I eat on the road. I like that meal more than anything. Try not to eat it all the time because I don't want to get burned out on it, because it's really, really good. But eating healthier is a better choice on the road than trying to eat healthy. And man, I don't want that to sound wrong.